Tonight, massive missile attack. Putin launching 55 missiles across Ukraine as the Kremlin threatens the U.S. and its allies. Putin's top spokesperson saying sending Abrams and other tanks is, quote, direct involvement in the war. As the Pentagon says that the United States will be sending an updated Abrams tank to Ukraine, the M1A2, which is fully digital and allows for commanders and gunners to more easily scan and identify targets. Today's escalation of words and the barrage of missiles coming as CNN is learning that the war is intensifying in the south now. You're looking at new video from the city of Marinka. You can see multiple fires raging, smoke blanketing the city. And Fred Pleiken is out front. He is outside Bakhmut, where some of the fiercest fighting continues to rage tonight.
Ukraine's tanks taking aim at the invading Russians. Kiev's forces rallying to try to halt the massive assault on Bakhmut. The city, where there are still some 6,000 civilians, has become a cauldron of fire.
From this vantage point, you can both see and hear just how fierce the fighting is. You can hear impacts from heavy weapons not just every minute, but literally every second. The Ukrainians say that the Russians are pouring a massive amount of personnel and weapons into this area because they seem to want to take Bakhmut at nearly any cost.
There are plenty of regular Russian troops fighting around Bakhmut now, but the Ukrainians say it's still the Wagner private military company that's leading the charge. With waves of fighters trying to storm Ukrainian positions both north and south of the city, as well as specialized forces like these snipers claiming to have killed a Ukrainian soldier. All I could see was a curtained window, the sniper says. The person who was paired with me saw a thermal outline, and I just determined where to shoot. Wagner's boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, often touts his militia's successes, but the cost is immense. This is a Wagner cemetery in the Krasnodar region of southern Russia. Row after row of fresh graves, a disposable force used to take just a few kilometers of land. Wagner acknowledges recruiting prisoners straight out of jail and throwing them on the battlefield with minimal training and only slim chances of survival. That same indifference shown in Russian strikes that kill and maim Ukrainian civilians every day. These folks are cleaning up after a Russian missile landed in their neighborhood near Bakhmut. We were getting heating from the heating plant which was hit, Yuri tells me. Yesterday at 3 o'clock it was destroyed, so now we have no electricity, no heating, we have nothing. And a few miles away, one person was killed in another densely populated area.
Some of the long-distance drones and missiles that Russia uses to attack Ukraine come down right near civilian areas. This here is only a few yards away from a kindergarten. However, others are used to directly target critical infrastructure. More than 50 missiles fired just on Thursday, and while many of them were intercepted by Ukrainian air defenses, some were not brought down, adding to the daily toll of destruction. The missile terror, more motivation for Ukraine's soldiers around Bakhmut to stand their ground and bring Vladimir Putin's invasion to a standstill.
And Aaron, it certainly is some really brutal fighting that we witnessed around Bakhmut today. The Ukrainians say that the Russians are trying to encircle that city, and obviously, as you can see there, the Ukrainians themselves trying to do their best to stop that from happening. Meanwhile, the president, Volodymyr Zelensky, he came out today and ripped into those missile strikes that the Russians once again conducted, calling for more air defense weapons, but of course, generally calling for more modern weapons from the West. He also praised the soldiers from the Ukrainian forces that are fighting here in Donetsk in the east of the country, saying that if they make a stand here, they could seriously deplete the combat power that Russia has available on other fronts as well, Aaron.
Fred, thank you very much from just outside Bakhmut tonight. And I want to go down to the Russian investigative journalist Andrei Soldatov. He is the author of The Compatriots, the Russian exiles who fought against the Kremlin. And Andrei, you've got some new reporting here as Fred's talking about the Wagner Group and them and still playing that central and kind of tip of the spear role near Bakhmut. You're reporting it's not just Wagner that's recruiting prisoners to aid in the Russian war effort, that this now goes much deeper, that the official Russian state is doing this as well. What did you discover?
Yes, it looks like the Russian military factories are suffering from acute shortages in workforce. Even Uralvagonzavod, which is the largest tank factory in the country, reported the lack of employees. So now they're going to use Russian convicts, and Russian convicts are already fighting on the battlefield in Ukraine. So now we're gonna help to manufacture all these tanks and weaponry.
So the formal state, Russian state, recruiting convicts to build the tanks. And now, to this point of your reporting, I want to play something that Putin said recently that speaks to what you're saying about the terrible state of the Russian defense industry right now. Here he is.
Given that the defense industry is now overburdened, and given that you work in 3 shifts, and there is a high demand for military industrial products, we are now considering the possibility of granting deferment also to those who must be called up for compulsory military service.
So it sounds like from what he's saying, they've offered anybody, you're going to come help us build the tanks and fix the defense supply problem, we'll defer your military service. But what you're reporting is that's not enough. They're still not able to get people to do it?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, they started promising protection from mobilization and the service in the army already in October. They also promised pensions, some good benefits, employment for the whole families in some cases. All of that failed. They failed to find enough people to work on these factories. So now they think that only prison population of the country might help. And of course, it's a sign of desperation. Just think how reliable all these tanks and all this weaponry could be if they would be manufactured by completely unskilled workforce straight out of the prison.
Straight out of the prison, and that they're emptying the prisons to do this and to fight on the front lines is absolutely stunning. Andrei, thank you so much for sharing your latest reporting.